Author and leadership expert Simon Sinek says, so much of starting a business or affecting change boils down to the confidence and courage to simply try. So make your vote for small business and join us on It's My Biz, where we meet courageous entrepreneurs who are building great businesses of the future. Tonight, our small business owner meets the founder and CEO of a successful infrastructure development and management company, the managing director of South Africa's leading developer of business and accounting software, and an investment banker who also launched his own wine label. Tonight's business owner is Leslie Mtungwa. I caught up with her at their offices in Boksburg.
African Olive's vision is to be the preferred provider of electrical engineering services in South Africa with future expansion into African markets by 2020. Our mission is that we will offer electrical engineering companies reliable, highly technological, high quality, outsourced design, commissioning and maintenance services. Our values are excellence, that's pride in our workmanship, integrity, innovation and customer satisfaction.
What was life like before African Olive?
Well, straight from university, Siyabonga and I, that's my husband who started this business with me. We both started working for Eskom. So our entire working careers was working at Eskom. Siyabonga is an engineering technologist and I worked at Eskom in various capacities. The immediate goal is first to saturate South Africa. So I think there's a lot of potential for our business within South Africa and we want to explore that. We want to get much more of the market than we do currently so that we can eventually move into Africa by 2020.
What are your company's challenges right now?
The first biggest challenge is skill losses because this is also a scarce skill category within South Africa, within the South African market. So even though we have been training technicians since we started, we lose them as well, So we have retention strategies, but because there's so few in the market, that's a challenge for us. Another challenge is cash flow. I think for all small businesses, cash flow is a challenge. And then we also, because we've been working for Eskom mainly, and City Power, they're the infrastructure owners in South Africa, we've mainly been working for them. We want to move into the private sector. So that for us is posing also a challenge at the moment because we're doing all of the marketing things, we do what we're supposed to do, we're doing the presentations, but it's a little bit difficult getting into the private sector. So that's posing a challenge for us.
What are you hoping to learn from our thought leaders?
Especially in a business such as ours, there's a lot of complexities. And so having, fresh eyes come into our business to look at what it is that we are currently doing, but also ways of how we can improve what we're doing so that we can be bigger and better because that's our goal. And so I think that your thought leaders with the experience that they have, they really can help us, to bring fresh eyes to see how can we do things better.
Here's tonight's small business trailblazer, Leslie Mtungwa. They've helped grow some of South Africa's most successful brands and businesses. Now let's introduce you to tonight's thought leaders.
Hi, my name is Bridget Gassa. I'm the founder and managing director of the Lilux Group Pty Ltd. We're an infrastructure development company. We have been in the business for 5 years. However, I have over 20 years worth of experience in the construction industry.
I'm David Bates, CEO of Brookwood Capital and founder of Leopard Frog Vineyards and the United Nations of Wine.
I'm Stephen Cohen, Managing Director of Pastel Software. The business has been around for 23 years. I also co-founded Softline, which was listed on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange in '97 and then delisted in 2003. We are South Africa's leaders in accounting software.
Now it's up to Leslie to present her business case to the thought leaders. That's coming up after the break.
With Nedbank's revolving business credit cards, you can either earn rewards or get cash back when you settle early. With Nedbank's revolving business credit cards, you can either earn rewards or get cash back when you settle early.
My name is Leslie Mtungwa. The company that I currently own and manage is called African Olive. African Olive is an electrical engineering company. We offer high voltage electrical engineering services within our industry. The three main challenges that we face at the moment is skill losses, cash flow, and the fact that we want to enter into the private sector market within our industry.
One of your areas where you are requiring help from us is how you grow your market. Not only with your ambition to venture into private sector, but how do you expand horizontally in the sector of focus, which you have been spending a lot of time and energy in over the past 6 years? And so when I was going through the history of your company and looking at the commendable work that you have tried to net within your own capacity of 21 people in the company, I thought about looking at more creative ways in which, number one, you could not really focus on those big public sector companies. And I'm not saying that that's not a good thing, but perhaps you need to be identifying public sector entities that need the value proposition that you offer almost on a daily and a monthly basis. And to me, the first thought that came to mind was your being able to market your skill and your service offering to the municipalities. Understanding that in the country we've then tried to decentralize the issue of generation and transmission of electricity, which is your main sector, into municipalities through what we call the REDs, the regional distribution centers, and almost try to get a footing by presenting your capabilities to those kinds of municipalities. That does in a way, or will in a way, try to assist you with dealing with cash flow problems that you're saying as a business you have been experiencing.
Leslie, I was talking to Siyabonga earlier, and we were talking about the fact that you operate mainly through tender processes. And I think that that's a very difficult environment to work in. And you have to develop expertise in how you deal with tenders. And earlier on, you said to me, you know, we do our job, we do our analysis, and then we move on. I don't think there's any business today that can afford to have a customer as a once-off kind of experience. And this aligns very much to what Bridget was saying. The turning point for our software company, Pastel Software, is when we developed ongoing relationships with our clients. So people would buy our software, and then we introduced maintenance fees where they could phone our support call centers. They knew that they would get upgrades to our software automatically and always be on the latest versions of our software. So every customer that you get that's new is like kind of added onto the customer before. So if you got 12 customers that you did jobs for in, let's say, 2013, in 2014 you need to know that you start off with that 12 in terms of repeat business, advice they're going to offer for you. So now if you get 12 in 2014, you now got 24. And then in 2015 you're going to build on that base of 24. But you always have to make sure that you're top of mind with your customers when they're having issues. You've developed a relationship where they're going to think of you first. And in terms of the tender process that I spoke about early on, we spoke about getting a foot in the door. And sometimes you'll find that your competitor who's filling out their tender is doing it differently to you. You've got to make sure that you get a foot in the door so that you're able to now start to create these relationships. We have a motto at Pastel that a customer is a customer for life. And I think that that's talking to sustainability. And earlier on you were saying that in the contracting game, your revenue can be lumpy, where it's great for 3 months, then it tailors off. And I think that once you get into building relationships, keeping the pipeline going, you'll find that you will then start to create a more sustainable business, and you'll be able to make medium to long-term decisions instead of just short-term decisions.
I'd like you to think about financial strategies to help address the ups and downs of your business and maybe address the cash flow and the financial headaches that are worrying you so much. The first thing I'd like to touch upon is overheads. I do know you're carrying a lot of staff and you're paying a lot for equipment rental. I actually would try and reduce your overheads as much as possible. I don't know if there's an opportunity to transfer your permanent employees to be independent contractors. I don't know if there's an opportunity to reduce your warehouse or your office space, but I would try and run lean and mean in this growth phase of your business. Leasing may be a little more expensive right now, but your cash is scarce, and I'm not sure I would want that sunk into very expensive equipment that might not be suitable for all the different kinds of projects you do. I would rather pay more to lease for the duration of a project than have the carrying cost of that lease, have inappropriate equipment, maybe have out-of-date equipment in 2 years. So for now, I would avoid making any major asset purchases. I would take the short-term pain of leasing for the long-term liability. The other thing I would look at is factoring, which is basically where you take a contract that you've won and you sell the profits from that contract to a bank who gives you a little bit less money up front, but you can reinvest that cash flow to get the contract off the ground. And it's an expensive way of financing, and I'm not sure it's really appropriate for you, but it's an option you might want to look at. The next option is getting a revolving credit line from a bank. Because you have such a great track record, because you're a proven BE company, and because your clients are generally fairly credit-worthy firms, you should be able to negotiate a revolving and fluctuating credit line with a bank that allows you to pledge the money you will make on some of these big contracts and draw down some money to get you started in that contract before you see the first revenues against milestones come in. The other thing I would look at, which Bridget mentioned, was the Industrial Development Corporation for some development funding, because they're in the business of financing your expansion. You're a poster woman for the kind of businesses they want to expand. BE, job intensive, industry intensive, and I think they'd be very interested in talking to you.
My suggestion and recommendation to you would be, do not limit yourself to what you can immediately do within the tenure of the contract. If the contract is 6 to 12 months, do not limit your value proposition to what you can do in that short space of time, but try and present a much more long-term strategy of engagement with the client. Try and present what you can do in terms of maintenance and life cycle costing, because there's always a space in a room for you to then say to the client, yes, I know that you came looking for this, but in the long term it will serve you well if you had one-stop shop. And obviously, in this case, you'd be talking about Africa Olive Engineering as that one-stop shop, so that the client doesn't get seized with just wanting an immediate solution, but in the long term, they would have to rely on another business for maintenance and rejuvenation of their infrastructure. So if you change tact in how you then present your business and what you offer, you'd be expanding a series of other things that you bring on the table, and that is attractive to clients.
I think that you should identify a core team of you in your business, and you sit down once every 2 weeks, have a couple of drinks after hours, have a PC there, browsing the internet, Google a few things, see what's happening in the industry, and that way you kind of get this core team that's discussing new things all the time. You said you had a marketing force. They are critical people in the growth phase of a business. What my experience in growing our business, also from very humble beginnings, we were very scared to pay good money for some good people. Now, unfortunately, the corollary is not true. Just because you pay good money doesn't mean you get good people. But if somebody's doing a great job, don't be scared to pay them properly. And it probably took me 8 years to learn that lesson. But the responsibility is on you to make sure they are the right people. Too often I hear people saying, I paid them the right money and I did everything right and they just didn't do the job. And I want to say, paying them the right money is just one of the components of getting the right person. The responsibility is yours to make sure they are worthy of earning the money. But don't be scared to put the correct incentives in place where in fact some salespeople will be earning more than you. And don't get jealous of that kind of situation. It means that everybody's doing well. And it's part of the growth phase of your business.
The thought leaders touched on the importance of long-term thinking, presenting long-term strategies to clients that go beyond the tenure of a contract. They also said it's especially critical during the growth phase of a business to have the right sales and marketing people in place and to make sure they're well incentivized. When we come back, Leslie gets the thought leaders' final thoughts and their top tips. So don't go away.
With Nedbank's revolving business credit cards, you can either earn rewards or get cash back when you settle early. With Nedbank's revolving business credit cards, you can either earn rewards or get cash back when you settle early.
Read about this business in the Business Report this Friday. So Leslie, lots of valuable advice. Bridget spoke about developing long-term engagement strategies with your clients. And then David provided a number of funding strategies like revolving credit and development finance. And then Stephen suggested that you get a core team together to regularly create experiences where you can discuss developments in your industry. What are your thoughts?
Well, Andile, really valuable advice. I think some of it can be implemented straight away, but some of it needs a little bit more research from our side. But certainly phenomenal advice. I believe that it's all geared towards taking us to the next level.
Yeah,
so
all
that's
you need
great.
to do now is marinate in that stuff, yeah?
Hey.
Now, Leslie, let's get to the final thoughts and top tips from our thought leaders.
You should be very proud of the business you've built over the last 6 years. First, diversify your business. Move away from being a one-sector wonder into a closely complementary cluster of businesses, telecommunications, infrastructure, construction. Secondly, partner with some large engineering firms, construction firms, and other companies where you can fill a very specific value gap in much larger projects, both in the public sector and the private sector. Third, develop a very focused marketing strategy based on personal relationships with the top 25 firms in your field. Wine them and dine them. Get to know them. Become their friend and their ally, and they will learn how you can help their business, and by helping their business, you will help your own. Look at Africa. You have a very specific skill set that is in short supply in Africa, and you can do well to expand your base beyond South Africa. And finally, incentivize your sales and marketing staff. Set very hard, specific targets that make you money, but they give them a piece of the pie when they bring that money through the door. Leslie and Siyabonga, you've done very well over the last 6 years, and I look forward to watching you as you move on to even bigger and better things over the next 6 years and beyond.
3 things that I'd like to leave you with as a word of advice and further encouragement. The first one is find space to innovate. We've met you as thought leaders, and we saw a passion and a zeal, which is very important for any person in business. Try and translate that passion and a zeal into innovation. There's so many other things that you could consider in the energy